And that's pretty profound.
Mark,
Yes.
can you share then with the group of some of the states that have just recently overturned and have now
Sure.
legal raw milk? You know
Sure.
a little bit about that? Because we're not a fair example of what you are dealing with because we've always been legal. But there have been states successfully getting legal raw
Correct.
milk.
Wyoming made raw milk very illegal for many years, but passed a law to allow cow shares in Wyoming, and now it's a thriving state. Utah had raw milk illegal for many years, and then passed a law, corruptly passed the law nonetheless, because a dairyman recognized that he could pass the law because he knew somebody, and he could do raw milk and anybody else do. So they passed the law that if you owned the dairy and the store, you could sell raw milk. He owned the dairy and the store, and he sold raw milk. He got an exclusive deal in Utah. So there's a little corruption there, but nonetheless, he recognized that people wanted raw milk, and he's producing it and making lots of money. New Mexico had not had raw milk in years, and they saw the model happening in California. Raw milk was actually legal there, but nobody was doing it, because it's the land of mega dairies. Big, big, huge, 2,500 cow dairies. And what do you know? Mike DeSchmidt started his little raw milk dairy. He sold out immediately, and now he's in like 30 stores doing really, really well. Tennessee went from illegal raw milk sales to cow shares being legal. First thing they had was a big outbreak because nobody knew how to produce raw milk well. They just thought, oh, I got a grade A license. I drink my own raw milk. Let's go do it. And the farmer hardly ever gets sick because they're immune to all the bad bugs of the farm. But the consumers coming to the farm from downtown got sick. They contacted Raw Milk Institute, instituted a food safety plan, no problem. They've been doing great for 2 years. So training goes with the conversion as well. And sometimes it's almost like giving somebody enough rope to hang themselves because they don't know what they're doing because they're ignorantly going forward. You need training and you need good regulation or a good model. You don't need regulation, but you need a model, a voluntary system of getting together so you can have your act together. And that's what the Raw Milk Association of Colorado has done by saying raw milk's illegal in Colorado, but you can go become a part of a farm share or a cow share and get legal raw milk. That's the way you go do it in Colorado. And they've got over 100 different providers of raw milk there through this legal system of cow share. And they have formed an organization called RMAC, Raw Milk Association of Colorado, where they get together, they have their own veterinarian, they set their standards, they test, they put the bacteria counts on the website so everybody can see, and everybody has their favorite raw milk dairy, they go get their raw milk. That's how they do it. So there's different models for how you go about getting raw milk throughout the United States, and they're all quite different. Some are similar, and then there's the ones that are illegal, and there's cow shares, and there's all kinds of stuff. Idaho, by the way, has very few standards, and anybody can do whatever they want. But they all carry guns there, and it's kind of a different place in terms of freedom. You know, it's like, don't tread on me or I'll shoot you. And that's kind of Idaho. But there's nobody that lives in Idaho except a bunch of deer and some fish. So it's a different place. It's a great place to visit. The United States is basically a patchwork of different programs for raw milk. No program through completely legal. It's a patchwork puzzle. And the reason it's that way is because the FDA doesn't want to see a uniform plan, because that means we really kick the processors' butts, because there would be an endorsement of a uniform plan. It's a patchwork puzzle because each state has its own rules. That's why you don't see uniform rules across the United States. Yes, Dan?
Do you have any thoughts onto why, when the rest of the world is starting to embrace raw milk, why Australia is kind of heading in the opposite direction and clamping down on it?
Australia is one of the biggest suppliers of the Pacific Rim for processed dairy products. They're a huge supplier to China. China can't trust their own dairymen. They trust Australia. And Australia is represented by some big brands, Fonterra. And they are processed milk. They are not non-processed milk. And you're too nice here. You comply, you get in line, you all kind of all go together with this thing that's kind of created as a national brand, and you go and you sell and you do a great job in the Pacific trade. But you're not taking very good care of your own citizens. And that's why you're here tonight. And that's why this is going to change just a matter of time. It's about local culture. It really is. How can we answer why Canada is the way it is? How can we answer why Montana the way it is? It's local culture. Who showed up and spoke up at a meeting to decide things on a particular date is, I think, a fascinating study, because if you didn't show up and somebody else did, that night the law changed and you weren't there to keep it from changing. It's very interesting how that can randomly occur. Like, for instance, in British Columbia, how the raw milk laws changed in the 1990s. One minister just signed a thing that said it's illegal now. No hearings, nothing, just boom, no evidence, just happened. And it was kind of a favor to the dairy industry. Just done, and nobody protested. And now to go undo that You try to subpoena the evidence that created that letter, there is none. But yet it's the law. And the dairy industry doesn't want it to go back. So it's profoundly important, just the culture of the day and the night and the time and what happened in history. You go back 15, 20 years, you'll see those kinds of things that happen even here. I think, Ron, you've seen that happen here. There's no hearings. There was no evidence. There was no 10 people that died one day. It just happened. But try to undo what just happened when it's a favor to industry, and it's very hard. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You mentioned just now that Australia is the biggest producer in Pacific Rim.
One of the biggest, yeah, New
New
Zealand.
Zealand's the biggest.
New Zealand and Australia.
And New Zealand's the biggest, and they're legalised it.
Correct. I think that's a great omen. I think it's a great omen. I think that you're not too far away. I think it's about ready to happen down here. It's a matter of really going forward intelligently and creating some dynamics where it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I feel inside it's going to happen. I really do. I'm not even from Australia, and I think it's going to happen.
There's only one thing missing from your
What's that?
scenario, and that's common sense. It's not too common.
Common sense, what is it? The gut feeling? I feel it in my gut. You feel it in your gut too. You especially feel it in your gut when you try to drink this garbage they feed you, right? And that's what dollar voting is all about. It's like, I'm not going to buy that stuff anymore. I can't do it. And that is an incredibly powerful message when an industry simply doesn't get the dollar votes anymore, even though they're promoting the heck out of it. You spend, in California, they spent $35 million in 2009, I think it was, to try to promote fluid milk consumption. Before that, they got a 2.5% decrease in consumption. The year before was actually a 1% decrease. So my theory, and it's unfounded, it's my guess, was that their promotion campaign actually worked. People went out and tried to drink more pasteurized milk, and they got sick and didn't do it anymore. And they got a rapid decrease. So their proposal is now, don't promote it, just kind of whisper about it, and just kind of hope for the cheese. Hope for the cheese. And the yogurt. The yogurt's great. The new studies coming out of Davis show that pasteurized yogurt is not associated with lactose intolerance at all. Raw milk is very much affiliated with and associated and similar to pasteurized yogurt because the enzymes are there, the good bacteria is there. The proteins are denatured in the yogurt, but nonetheless, there's been enough CPR done by the fermentation process that it fools your body into thinking it's kind of like milk again. So we don't see a lot of lactose intolerance with raw milk. We don't see it with yogurt, but we see a tremendous problem with fluid pasteurized milk, especially in children who don't have that developed digestive tract to be able to deal with 2,100 different proteins completely denatured. And I got that from the IMGC that said, hey, listen, what do we do with all these denatured proteins? We need these building blocks of life all organized in their natural form. What do we do with that? No, we need these things, building blocks, these amino acids need to be in their original form to build blocks of babies. What do we do with all these denatured proteins? It doesn't work. So I think the science is there, and I think the dollar voting is there, the voices are there, websites and emails and organization, and I think the will is there because the writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. The boredom is on the wall. They're so depressed about where they are. It's so mundane. They're ready for an infusion of intelligent, fun stuff. And I think raw milk could be that thing. You wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't think it was going to happen. Daryl, question?
Oh, I was going to say, the relationship with the regulator here, we've got Dairy Food Safety Victoria, which all it does is make sure that all the milk's cooked. So its job is little more than a chef. It cooks the milk and it's done. Shouldn't they be excited about having a new market where they can expand their role?
I don't want to project my feelings onto Jennifer, but I thought she was excited but holding back her excitement because she'd never heard what came out of my mouth ever before from anybody. And I was very serious about it, and I explained to her the seriousness and the gravity with which I take charge of my product, and how when you love your consumer, the last thing you ever want to have is somebody get sick. You want to prevent that, and you want to encourage health. And that is your future as a dairyman, is have these beautiful children running around saying they love you. Now, there's nothing more compelling you can have as a dairyman, as a families that think, I grew up because I drank that raw milk, and my teeth are strong, and my immune systems are strong, and that's my access to raw milk is that dairyman and that brand that I trust and love. I mean, I get 2 paychecks. I get good pay for my milk, and I got hugs and kisses. What else could I want, right? That's excitement missing here, and you need it. And I think that they felt that. And I think that you have a good proposal from people that are serious about it, and I think they'll listen. I think they're a little bit bored right now. I really do. They're bored and beaten down.
Frontier where it actually is about safety.
Well, safety is also an excuse. Because it's really easy, it's very inflammatory, and it's easy to blame. It's easy to go back 120 years ago and say 50% of people that drank raw milk in certain dairies died. It's true. And the raw milk they produce for pasteurizer, I wouldn't go near it. So it's true, but let's look at this further. Let's have one dairyman take full responsibility, clean the udder off, have the cow lay down in some place dry and clean, get some pastures and sunshine, and test a few things here and there, and you have a different kind of food, and set some standards, and you have a different kind of food, completely different kind of food. It doesn't go down the road and get commingled with everybody else's milk that doesn't care. Or then maybe they do care, but the other guys didn't care, so they all just put together so that the milk eventually needs to be pasteurized. You bring excitement when you bring new standards and high expectations, and you get moms and consumers going, I want that, I want that. You really do bring excitement. And I think that there's time for excitement, and this is the time. Or in the coming years, it's time. You got some time you need to put together your organization and really go forward. You've got some done, but you need to coalesce it even more, bring some evidence in, and get some good proposed standards, and ask them for a meeting, and get the people in the room and say, guys, it's not about us. It's about consumers that are begging for us. It's about consumers. And look at the studies. Really bring the studies forward. This is irrefuted, peer-reviewed, published stuff. Nobody's saying they're wrong. They're right. And the best scientists are saying, they're right. We don't know why, but they're right. So, time to charge the hill.
And I think that's a perfect time
Thank
to
you.